Hey, what's up, world? It's your boy, the Toothless Wonder, coming back with another video. And this one, I'm gonna just get into like a little bit of my story, um, how the various levels of truth I've been coming into throughout the years, why my life has just been so mysterious. And I'm gonna big up the brother New Breed, Global Truth, who was one of the probably the cornerstone piece, and a few other brothers online who helped me kind of navigate my path because nobody had the answers at the time. The church man, my homeboys, psychology, therapy, none of that. Like I just kind of knew instinctually, like all this is spiritual. You know what I mean? Um, where I start? Well, I kind of grew up in a rural household on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I grew up real old fashioned. Like I came in on the tail end of us still having livestock, and which is very symbolic because I know it's now me and other brothers are attempting to live more agricultural, more set apart. And I grew up very isolated. Like my neighbors were actually related to me and built homes on the same land that my grandmother had initially bought. Her oldest son, he moved out, built a home next door. You know, then we had a garden in between, and he built a home next door. He passed. Now my cousin is taking that over. I had an aunt, my mother's sister. She married. Her husband bought some land from my grandmother. On the other side, built a home. He's since passed. But now my cousin, which is, the offspring of those two, now owns the house that I grew up in with me, my mother, my grandmother. And then we had an uncle who would come in and out. We had another home behind that my uncle stayed in. And we were all very everybody was kind of not separate, but had their own things going on. But we were all a family. But, we all looked out for it. If if my mom didn't cook, I'd go next door or I'd go the other way. And then it was always work to do. And then, my aunt would make me read. And I think that started like the inquisitiveness of my mind. Um, During my formative years, I think what she was attempting to do was hammer home the point of like education, how important it was for upward mobility. Because that was, they, like the generation before me, like my mom and them, they went through like segregation. So they might have started out in an all black school, then they went to when they integrated, and then they all went to HBCUs, uh, and then ended up working for the state or the school system, whatever the case may be. And that was kind of the path of upward mobility. Growing up, I never seen any real toxic, other than my uncle. He was like, the family drunk. But that's just what it was. That's just who he is, you know what I mean? I never seen any bickering or arguing, or I never seen women, behave unbecoming of themselves. And if they were doing it, they kept me well removed from it. Or I was just green as grass and just didn't see it. Um, all my, from my mother's side of the family, they're all married, and then their kids are all married for the most part. You know what I mean? And they might have got college degrees or whatever, but they maintain more of it. They're more entrepreneurial. Like my cousin has a hair salon. Her father had a barber shop. My cousin that took over my other uncle's house, he has his own concrete business. Like all my other cousins on that side or from that particular branch, one's a grave digger. Um, and they all pretty well set. At least comfortable. Um, so during that time, like it kind of messed me up because now I'm isolated, and if it wasn't school, church, and when I got a certain age, sport related, I wasn't a part. So I knew nothing about society other than what I had seen on TV. And back then we only had 4 channels. So I'm like, when I would watch TV, I didn't think that was actually real life. I just thought that was something people came up with in their mind and just put it on TV. I didn't know it was like somewhat accurate of or a depiction of real life or what actually goes on in the world. So when I stepped foot in the world, everything was foreign to me. Because I was raised, and I'm a child, so I'm kind of like innocent, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't know anything about manipulation. I didn't know anything about the things I saw when I started going to school in town. Like, I can tell they don't really like them, but they playing them close because they try. I'm like, that's why I never clicked up with people. And if I did click with some, it was more, I'm more the interpersonal guy. We established a personal rapport. And I could kind of flow in and out of social groupings, but I never really belonged to any of them. But I would just like, when I go to school, it wouldn't make any sense, especially history. Or, when they bring up black people, it's just slavery. I'm like, that's all? That's you know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It don't make no sense. Or when I start understanding how the world works, or, you know, mortgages, I'm like, that don't make no sense. Why I got to, in order for y'all to deem me successful, I got to buy a home that I actually don't own and then pay for it for 30 years. Well, if something happened, then what? Where my money go at? Like, I would have these questions, nobody would really have an answer. I went the path of, because I was kind of, and then I used to get into it with people. You know what I'm saying? Like, typically, I don't respond the same way everybody else do. And back then, I really didn't have a whole lot of social skills. So if you said something I didn't understand what you meant, I would ask you, like, what you say? And if it still don't make no sense to me, I just pluck you. Of course, that would get me in trouble, home. You know, every time I go in society, you know, somebody calling home, he doing this, he doing that. And then I was primarily raised by women. Outside of my uncle that was next door, and my grandfather, who, you know, had influence or whatever. But they never really understood, like, I guess my instinct, like, I'm not supposed to do that. But so then I had to kind of walk, or felt like I had to walk the tightrope of conducting myself in a way that, you know, uplifts or honors the family name. And at the same time, being able to function outside when they're not around and not have people talking to me any kind of way, because it don't make no sense to my brain. So then I started, you know, I was the last one to do it. But I started getting in the weed. And I actually thought it was, and then drinking and stuff, but I actually thought it was like a godsend, because in reality, looking back on it, I was actually dumbing myself down to like get along. And now I'm meeting people, you know what I'm saying? Da da da. So I'm like, oh, it's all right, but not realizing I was, you know, becoming, you know, an addiction. Because actually, anything I like doing, I do it to death. Later on, as time rolls on, you know, I moved to suburbia across the bridge. Everybody knows, you know, about Maryland. You know, that's more like the Baltimore metropolitan area, which is a whole different demographic, logistic. There's people everywhere, there's police everywhere. You know, I couldn't really operate the same way I used to on the shore. I ultimately ended up getting into, after 2 days, like similar to the New Breed, 2 days after I turned 18, I got into a physical altercation with the police, in which I had like 11 some charges. They trumped them up, of course. But the foundation of it, I had like 5 or 6 assaults on police officers. Now, where I'm from is very, like, it's more southerly. We don't consider it the South, but it has a lot of southerly tendencies, especially when it comes to the court system, where they just, you know, throw Negroes away for nothing. So in my mind, I'm thinking, had I done this in the county that I'm from, man, I'm going to prison. By the grace of God. And then, you know, throughout life, you know, at these integral parts where I thought I'm done for, I always get some grace and mercy or some favor, or disaster gets averted. But at the same time, I've gone through more pain, suffering, betrayal, setbacks, delays than most other people. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it's a double-edged sword when it comes to that. But I only got 2 weeks for putting my hands on the police. But then, because, you know, my dream was to play basketball. So, you know, I don't really know what I'm going to college for, but I'll figure it out when I get there. So I'm basically just going to school to play basketball. But because of what I had done, that knocked that out the box. And then I'm on this tip of, well, now what do I do? Because I've been dreaming about this ever since I can remember. So now what I do? So in order to cope, I fall into, you know, the weed, the alcohol, bad decisions, impulsive decisions. And now I'm running afoul of the court system. Probation, violate, probation, get off, catch a new charge 2 weeks later. You know, go through that whole rigmarole for about 7 years. You know, bad decision with females. And, you know, just stand in la la land, get locked up. Yeah, I'm going to do right, get out. Like a wash pig, return to the mud. So that takes place for a minute. Then after about 25, I was still drinking and smoking. But I started making better decisions. I got tired of going to jail every year. From 18 to 25, I went to jail every year. 2 of those years, I went twice. And 1 year, I managed to go to jail 3 times. And I never forget the probation man told me, he said, man, you end up doing life on an installment plan. And I realized I don't like people telling me what to do. And I wasn't really backing up no time that I couldn't handle. So I go in there hard. Like, not hard, but, you know, like, no, I'm not going to do that because it's not on the court order. And then a lot of times I would end up having these black women probation officers. And it was like they would get off on, like, I guess having some semblance of control over me. But I guess in conversation, when they would discern that I just had my own mind and I'm not bow down and pandering, they would just make it hard for me for no reason, even though I ain't messed up nothing. I told the one woman one time, I said, I'm trying to violate this on purpose. Because if I violate, go to jail, do the rest of my time, and get out, it'll actually be shorter than me having to fool with you every week. That's what I told her. But, that plays out. Then I have about a 5-year lull. I'm working, not really striving for it, but, just being more productive, Like I can, look eyed and eat eyed and whatever. And then I've been knowing I was supposed to do it, but as I turn to 30, I start, I got time. At least that's what I'm thinking. I met a young lady, and ultimately, and the Most High set all this up to crush me. I met her previously at a funeral of another female friend of mine who had passed away, and ultimately she succumbs to cancer. And I thought this was the one. And I guess because it kind of shook my reality, maybe I was kind of aloof or just kind of not all the way there. Like I remember working and just not kind of being all the way in the work, like just kind of let my mind wander or whatever. I messed around, got hit by a car, broke my neck. And according to the ambulance people, they said when they got to me, I had no vital sign. Miraculously, and that's how they wrote it up, miraculously when they started fumbling around with me, they said I started babbling. Went to Johns Hopkins, I guess a world famous hospital in Baltimore. No, shock trauma. Forgive me. That's a world famous hospital in Baltimore too. What happened after that? They basically tell me, I broke my neck and where I broke it at, up by my brainstem, and that I may not make it out to surgery, and if I do, there's a pretty good chance I'll be paralyzed. So I see the concern on my family member's face, and I closed my eyes and I said, God, it's up to you. Because I knew it wasn't really no time for no prayer. Tomorrow probably won't come. And this is my fault. I was playing around, and miraculously I woke up. But after I woke up, I knew, I darn sure knew I got hit by a car. I was in a neck brace about 3 months, and then all hell broke loose. Of course, I'm broke. I can't work. I'm depressed about, my fiance passing away 3 months prior. I had, lived with my father. Me and him started having issues. Because actually I took care of him, and then when the roles were reversed, I was a burden. So he would lie on me to get my mother to come over there for him, just to do cook and clean. I'm like, you can ask her to do that, but don't throw me under the bus. I had another female that was putting false charges on me, and I'm getting convicted with a neck brace on. So my whole world was just, it was just enough made any sense. And around about this time, I started going to church down the street. And they had told me leave certain people alone. But at the time, I was so, being alone was because all the stuff would hit me. So I would just use my friends that I was supposed to leave alone as a distraction and just get drunk, whatever. I end up getting some money from the case of the girl hitting me, and that's a whole story in and of itself. And here come all the friends and, whatever, fake friends or whatever. And I would end up putting out everybody fire. And at the time I was thinking, I'm just let bygones be bygones. Look, man, whatever. Let me just do the right thing. Or at least that's what I thought. I actually helped another friend of mine, not be homeless for me to ultimately become homeless. And when I became homeless, nobody was around. And the first thing the Most High did was he turned the mirror around on me and said, like I said, yeah, they did whatever, but I ain't had no business fooling with them. Or I've never seen them pay anybody back. What make me think they're going to pay me back? And I essentially I was homeless off and other than going to shelter for about 2 years. The first 40 days of that, I was outside in the cold. I'm trying to figure out how I survived 40 days outside. No money. But he led me to a a utility closet in this apartment complex. You know what I mean? And I couldn't do nothing but I ate. And periodically I found money on the ground. But he was starting the purging process. Now, mind you, I tried stuff outside of what was on my contract. I ain't gonna move in no woman or try to sell drugs or do anything crazy. He wouldn't even let me get locked up. One time I went to the restaurant, ate the food, and told him I ain't got no money. You should call the police. Police get there, they wouldn't even lock me up. I couldn't even get locked up. No, you gotta feel this. Um, years go up. Well, years go by. I was hungover one time. Had child support. I didn't go back. They put a warrant out on me. I moved in my daughter's mother. That was terrible. Got into a situation with her. And based on what happened, my cousin heard about it, who was in Baltimore, and told me to go in, asked if I want to go into treatment. I'm tired of my own self at this point, so I went into treatment. That was 2016. Numerous falls, numerous relapses. But in the midst of that, like, I was doing everything right, but I wasn't getting nowhere. Or, like in the recovery world, it's, sponsorship, fellowship. But the people around, I didn't feel like these people, I was cool with everybody. They liked me or whatever, but I just didn't feel, I wasn't led to like be, because he wanted me all by myself. And I'm saying all that to say, he was training me to make stuff happen. He was training me to do stuff, or just be productive, even though it's probably not going to work. He was building character. He was building resiliency. He was letting me see the world at large for what it was. But in my little heart of hearts, I'm still like, well, it's got to be woo. Yeah, it is, but not for you right now. And the only reason I got, next month I had 3 years is because I just put it all together this time. And I said, whatever come down the pike, I'm going to deal with it. And in the midst of doing that, I still have an issue with smoking cigarettes. But I have a plan to address that. Because I want to live holy, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I see the world for what it is and how dark it is and how wicked my flesh is. And you know what I mean? But how I caught New Breed was maybe 6 months prior, maybe a year. I was sitting on my mother's step one night. And at this time, I didn't know you could like subscribe to people's channels. And I don't even know how he popped on my feed. But it was something, the title caught me, and it was something pertaining to the lonely walk or the lonely road or isolated walk or something. And out of curiosity, I clicked it. And it might have been like a 40-minute, 45, maybe an hour video. And the crazy thing about it, let's just say it was 40 minutes, 45, whatever. In the midst of that video, he had verbatim said things that I had said to myself. Because prior to this, I'm thinking, I'm questioning, I don't feel crazy, but I'm like, yo, why don't nobody else see this? Why I feel the need to move like this? Why am I having these inklings? Why am I thinking beyond what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And he had said like 4 or 5 things that I had told myself verbatim recently. And that brother has done that at very integral points. Like he had made a video one time. I'd been out of treatment about a year. And of course, I'm a man, so I desire, the company of a woman, to say the least. And but I already knew she was a bad, this ain't nothing, nothing. The thing is, you gotta be careful about this, doing stuff that's easy. So I'm mulling over it. You know what I'm saying? And then he had made a video about, women setting brothers up. Not saying that was gonna happen, but I was gonna have to meet her at 2 in the morning, and now I'm sober, now I ain't got no business out there, and I'm like, yes, he gave me the confirmation, you know what I'm saying? But he's just not only helped me, move accordingly, but also give me a lot of credence as to why spiritually certain things happen, and they or didn't happen, and how the Most High has been guiding my life the whole entire time. Because let's say he don't isolate me years ago, I had it I have no desire for social validation. So I'm able to maintain me. I'm able to walk away from things. I'm able to cut things off. I no longer look. Now, of course, the Most High can use people, but I'm not truly in application, hoping this man puts me in position, or hoping, this opportunity leads to da-da-da. I'm going to the Most High with all that. Not in a passive way. I live like that. And I'm noticing, and I still have some hang-ups. Like New Breed said, I think in a couple videos, at bad, you probably got 1 or 2 things you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? But I don't be manipulated, nor do I want to. Because I be afraid God gonna get me after. I'm probably the grace and mercy king. Man, if it wasn't for his grace and mercy, man, I should have been dead 1,000 times. Like some people remind me of something, like, oh yeah, that did happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, God damn, what was I thinking? And that's kind of caused me to repent when I really, the depth of it, like, God damn, I should be a tombstone at best right now on numerous occasions. I should be still on drugs. I should, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't worked in 10 years. But then when I had the recent job before I left, because they had a whole bunch of witchcraft going on and all that, couldn't nobody tell. Like, nobody can tell. I've been betrayed more times than I remember. Like, I'm not bitter, you know? And that's all a testament to the Most High and Him choosing me and not the other way around. So in response to that, I want to show my appreciation. As they say, I want to put my hand to the plow. And then he made a video, because knowing about an hour and a half, I kind of like, you know, whatever. But I stayed on, I think it was about 3 hours when we talked about America in crisis. And I said, yeah, because I'm trying to put this piece, how do I do this? Do we want me to do this? You know, woo, woo, woo. And, you know, I'm into the solar thing, and I've had some hiccups with that. Want to quit. But I said, I'm in it, and it's too late to turn back now and pick something else. I got to roll this. I got, you know, buckle down, make adjustments, adapt. You know what I'm saying? It brought me a mighty long way, and I refuse to go backward or to get all the way to the goal line and not even fumble, just fall down, trip over my feet, you know. So, you know, I want to thank the Most High for, you know, the calling on that brother life and other brothers, you know, Ringo and for then Rollo Tug, and, you know, because I've been wanting to leave, and I was actually going to Belize, or planning to, because I just seen they still speak English, and, well, I get my Spanish together, whatever. But then when they were, you know, the Most High moved, you know, the pieces, and, you know, the meeting with African dignitaries, and I share this, like, I really want to, like, be set apart or go to Africa, because I want to fall back and love my people again. This is something I struggle with, because black folk real dangerous, and I love them, you know what I'm saying? I love them, but I don't love what they do. I didn't even love when I used to do it, you know what I'm saying? Like, none of that stuff that I used to, you know, take pride in the streets or gave me a name on it. I don't even, and when I was in the treatment center, I'm like, yo, that wasn't nothing to be proud of. None of it. It was a waste of time. That's why I tell you not to do it. The testimony that he's given me, you know, the influence, the energy, the spirit, that all came from him. And that all came from enduring hardship, you know, years of isolation, years of lack of support, years of me trying things and it not working. And then in His grace and mercy, I relapse. Not because I just want to be a douche. I just want to ease my mind, because that don't not make no sense. Now, I should have cracked open the word. That's what I should have did. But again, I was still operating on my own wisdom and understanding. And His grace and mercy, like, all right, I'm going to tap your head. I know you're a little hard-headed. You got a good heart, though, but I'm going to have to tap your head a little bit out of love. Because whom the Lord love, He chastised. You know what I'm saying? And I used to notice, like, I'd be around people, and they get away with murder or, you know, whatever, or do the most nothing, get everything handed to them. But I got to fight, claw, and scratch just to get a little bit. You know what I mean? But it's all to the good. And I wouldn't be who I am now and able to operate now the way I need to operate in such an integral time in human history had He not done all that stuff way back when. You know what I mean? So I had just a little short one, man. You know, shout out to the brother New Breed. Maybe this can help his algorithm out. Because I'm all for helping. You know what I'm saying? It's just now, like, you know, I have the ability to help now for a righteous cause as part of prophecy and scripture. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that? All right, y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all. Ooh,